Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Matt Leaf, and I'm your moderator, or your host for tonight's Zoomcast on the Mentor Program. I want to thank everyone for joining us again, and for those regulars that are back every single Tuesday night. Thank you very much for your dedication, and we hope that the new year 2021 has gotten off to a great start for you. Again, our subject matter tonight is I know that we did a session on mentoring a little bit from the administration side and from the mentor side. Tonight, we want to shift gears a little bit and share some experiences and share some feedback and some information from the official side of things and how the support that they've gotten through mentor programs or Big Brother programs have contributed to the success of a couple of our up and coming younger officials here. Our panelists tonight, our guests, first off, introduce Jere Huson, who is a 17-year-old fourth year level 2 official from the Minnesota area or Minneapolis area. He's a high school hockey player. And like I say, he's in his fourth year of officiating now with USA Hockey. And Michael Miggins, who is a 27-year-old level 4 from Texas. He started officiating at first when he was 13 years old, got in about 4 or 5 years then, and then took 3 or 4 years off, I would imagine, is for college and those types of things. And then he returned and came back into the program. Since then, he's been fast-tracked through our development program, currently working in the American Hockey League, the ECHL, still helps out with our junior program a little bit. And more importantly, he's at a stage in his career now, at a ripe old age of 27, to start giving back and mentoring and supporting some of the younger officials that are coming up in the leagues that he's working. So very excited to ask some questions and share some experiences with Jere and Michael tonight. But before we get started, we're going to go through our standard process here. First and foremost, if you do have any questions throughout the course of the session, please feel free to use the Q&A. We'll try to answer as many as we can, either through the webinar with our panelists, or if there's something that I can give a quick hit to, we'll try to do that as well too. So the Q&A function should very much be active, and you're welcome to use that. Also, to get a little bit of a gauge in terms of who we have on tonight, we're going to launch a quick poll again for our audience, just to get a little bit of an idea in terms of where you're at. There's 4 questions tonight. If you could take a minute or two to go through each question, and then at the end, essentially press submit, and we'll share the results real quick before we get started with tonight's program. Okay, so let's take a look at the results real quick. Question number 1, is a formal officiating mentor program utilized in your local area? Looks like we're pretty much split with roughly 15% that aren't sure, and 44%, 41% either a yes or no. So again, for those that have been around a little bit this season, you know that we placed a special emphasis on mentor program to try to help us in the world of retention, especially with our brand new officials. Obviously, the COVID situation, the pandemic has created a whole bunch of difficulties for us in a lot of different areas. So that might have an impact on the success at the local area with mentor programs. Does your local area utilize an on-ice shadow program to train new officials? A little higher percentage here. Yes, 56% to 26% no, and roughly 20% that are not sure. Number 3, has there been a renewed emphasis on mentoring new officials in your area for this season? 37%, a little bit over a third, say yes. 20% no, there hasn't really been a change, and 45%, as I kind of sort of indicated, not a real big surprise. COVID has put a damper on a lot of the things that we want to be able to do. So 45% are saying that hasn't really been impacted this season because of the COVID situation. And finally, question number 4, we should say, have you mentored a new official? 56% said yes, 44% no. And were you mentored when you first started your officiating career? Looks like about a third, or a little bit over a third, yes. And a little bit under 2/3, no, were not mentored. So for those that were supported and mentored, fantastic. We're glad that you're still around. More importantly, for those that maybe did not have that support when they first got started, the 2/3, thank you for hanging out, and thank you for sticking around, because I know it's not easy, and you certainly probably faced a lot more challenges along the way. Okay, so next up, I want to get into a little presentation here. So I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so real quickly, I want to just give you a quick overview of some of the data, and many of you have probably seen some of this before, but want to make sure that everyone in the audience is aware of why this is such an important thing for us. First and foremost, 35% of our registered officials are under the age of 18, and 22% of them are under the age of 16. So that puts it about 7,000 of our 20,000 officials this season are under 18, and 4,400 of them are under 16. So that 13, 14, 15-year age group is oftentimes when officials first get started. Why does that become important? Because USA Hockey, we lose 50% of all of our brand new officials. So if you're a brand new official, 50% of them do not come back for their second year of officiating. However, if we can keep them around, if we can support them long enough and keep them involved in the program to get them through the first 2 seasons, our retention rate goes up to 90%. So that's a pretty staggering difference. And that's why we have made a sincere commitment, realizing that the mentoring and providing a better experience for those brand new officials, and especially those younger ones, is an important part of any success that we have down the road. So with that in mind, I want to get our panelists involved here. And this question is really for both of you. Either one can go first, but Jere and Michael, you both started your officiating career when you were in that 13, 14 years old neighborhood. What was it like to get started at that age? And did you personally have someone assigned to you to help you get started and give you support that first season?
So the way that it started down here was we didn't have specific officials assigned to us. We would, our first 50 or so odd games, we would be put with a veteran official, and so you'd kind of go in blind, and then just by luck, it depends who you're paired with. And so it was, I think for me, it was a little nerve-wracking because I was 13 years old, and I had to get driven by my mother to the game, which was weird in the first place. And I was super nervous. I asked her to leave. Like, I didn't want her to stay and watch the game. And so it was a little more nerve-wracking than anything to start a job where you're going in completely blind at. But luckily, the guys that they put with me for my first handful of games, one of them was an old hockey coach. The other one was our scheduler. Everyone was fairly familiar. I was fairly familiar with, so it made easing into the process a little easier.
Okay, Jere, what was it like for you to get started at 13?
Well, for me, I started. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, you're good.
I started my first year when I was 13. I started in Shakopee, where I grew up, and I still live here. I only reffed mites, like the lower age group of kids when they're just starting to play competitively. And so my first season wasn't really very competitive hockey. and it was just a lot of getting used to kind of, I would say just getting used to the environment, and I didn't have to really worry about, in my experience of like getting yelled at by coaches or kind of dealing with the rough stuff that you have to deal with an official sometimes. Because I was in my community and I knew a lot of the coaches of the teams. I knew a lot of the young kids that I was reffing, and it was very helpful for me to start out in that kind of environment. And then so I feel like going into my second season or my first real season, you could say, that I was a lot more comfortable going into those games. Yeah, the first 10 or so games were still a little nerve-wracking when you're that young and you're going up to those coaches and talking with them and stuff. That they can be a little intimidating, but you have to remember that you're the official and you have control of the game. So I just wanted to kind of remind myself all the time that I was there, and that I'm just another person there. I'm supposed to make the game keep going. So just I'm not going to have too many problems. But I also felt that I was a lot more comfortable in the way I started. So
Very good. And Michael, just a little bit of a follow-up question for you. What do you know now that you wish you knew back when you first started?
Man,
What's the
that's
magic formula there?
It's a hard one to answer, and my biggest thing is I wish that I asked more questions when I was younger, because I don't know if I'm assuming it's the same for a lot of guys who are so young. When I got paired with guys who were 20, 30, 40 years older than me at the time, I went silent. Like, I never asked questions. I was super nervous. And people who know me know I'm not a very quiet person in the locker room. But when I started out, it was silence for me. And I never asked questions. And even if I was lost, I would just put my nose down and just grind through it to go to the next game. And I wish I had asked more questions. There honestly is no wrong questions to ask to anyone in this profession.
Okay, very good. And Jere, you say your second season now. You're a crafty veteran at 14 years old. You got the mites and some cross ice and some lower level stuff out of the way, and now you're going out. You're wearing the stripes for the first time. You're expected to call some penalties and stuff like that. What was the biggest fear you had? What was it? The communication side? How long did it take you to raise your arm for the first time for that first penalty? What are some of the experiences there?
Well, I think for me, it was mainly just like being there. I didn't want to like make people mad. Like, oh, that was a bad call. Or, like, I didn't want to disappoint anybody, and obviously that's part of the game. We make calls. Not everybody's gonna agree with it every time. So I just had to get through that and realize that you're never gonna make the perfect call. There's no you're always gonna mess up, even in the little things in every game. Even now, just you make mistakes every time. So you just gotta realize that it's gonna happen, and you try to just minimize like the mistakes, and just kind of push through and just kind of make it so you're not as I would say, as a younger official, not as what's the word? Well, let's go with that.
Okay, very good. Moving on to the next slide here real quick. So again, we get into the mentor program real quick. It's a big brother, big sister program for new ice hockey officials. We're looking for experienced officials to serve as a big brother, sister to a group of brand new officials. And we're hoping that these mentors are introduced to the new officials basically at the seminar that they attend, support them through the registration process and those types of things. The second component of this sometimes is the shadow program. And we mentioned it in the poll question. It sounds like neither one of you were necessarily shadowed, but in both cases, you were assigned with some experienced officials that provided some support and some guidance and some feedback and stuff like that. What was it like having that type of support? Was that a critical part of your success? And did you ever run into some of those senior officials that were a little bit less supportive than some of the others?
I can go first. I feel like that. Yeah, there were all the officials that when I first started, all the older, they were really helpful, and they just wanted to kind of keep me there. Obviously, that we know that we lose a lot of our officials after those first year or two, so I know that they wanted to see me grow and just stay in the game. I think I maybe only had one older guy that was a little bit of a tough cookie, but he didn't give me too much of a problem. He was just helping me out more. The more I look back at it now, he was just helping me out more, kind of telling me more stuff, which I kind of took as I'm doing everything wrong back then. But now I see it as, yeah, he was giving me advice that I needed, and I took it. So that's what I feel like it was for me.
Okay, good. Michael, same thing. Some of the older guys, you said the first 40, 50 games, you had someone that was experienced working with you. Everything positive, or was there any experiences that weren't quite so supportive?
Yeah, they were really all supportive. I think this is kind of just a wild story off topic, but it was like my fourth game to ever work. And my partner just didn't show up. And so I don't know what happened. It was years and years ago now. And so I one-manned like a peewee game when I was 13 years old. And so that was, honestly, it might have been better for me because it really, that was a blast. I had a blast doing that game. But it really jumped me in just head first into the deep end. But for the most part, I got paired up with a mentor who was an old hockey coach of mine. And so like I grew up with him yelling at me for years and years and years. And then to have him in this role as like an officiating coach was perfect. Like I already looked up to him as a coach, and going from coaching hockey to coaching referees was pretty seamless. We already knew each other. It was an easy transition. And so I think the majority of my games were with him, and it made it much easier going through all those games as a 14-year-old back in the day.
Yep. No doubt. And I guess there's a kind of sort of a follow-up question for you too, Michael, is you started out young. It sounds like you had some success during that first stint. And then you took some time off, and I'm assuming that the reason was to further your education and stuff like that. Did you always plan on returning? Was that something that was in your mind because of your initial experience, or at what point did you realize that you wanted to get back into officiating?
Yeah, it's weird because we talk about it at our meetings down here about retention and everything. And the new thing we're trying this year is to a lot of the level 4s to get in contacts with the first year level 1s to help them register for a second year and everything, see how their first year is going. I never had that when I was 13 and 14. And so like my second year after officiating, I think I registered for a third year, and then just kind of said like, do I really want to do this? I'm going to be a senior in high school, or I was going to college, or whatever it was. And I never like finished my test or submitted whatever I needed to. And so I got like an incomplete, and no one ever followed up with me. And then I kind of forgot about it. And it wasn't until I started playing club hockey for a school down here that the scheduler now came up to me in the hallway, name from the back of my jersey, said, "Hey, you were an official way back when, right?" And yeah. And he asked if I wanted to try it out because USA Hockey was hosting a mid-season seminar. And just on a whim, I signed up 3 days later and started reffing again. And I didn't necessarily like it when I was a teenager, but getting back into it as a 19, 20-year-old, loved it, absolutely loved it. And it was like riding a bike. I picked it up 10 times easier than it was to start.
So you're saying that 5, 6, 7, 8 years of maturity is a pretty significant advantage.
I still got a few to go, but what I had was enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Jere, you obviously made it through your first couple of years. You're at that segment now where we're at the, hopefully you're hooked, you're at the 90% retention rate. Was there a time during your first few years where you thought about quitting? Was it really worth it? And, if that's the case, what was it that kept you going, or what keeps you going on this?
Well, I feel like for me, my first year doing mites and kind of doing that like in-house league, I guess you could say, I had a blast with it. I mean, I had so much fun reffing all of those games and just being around people that I knew. And then transitioning onto my second and third year, mainly the second year, it was just kind of like that learning process where you're testing out new stuff. I mean, at that point I was traveling to other cities and I had to kind of do all the officiating stuff that I do now. Just kind of traveling around and just, yeah, traveling around and doing like talking to other officials and seeing what I can learn. I just didn't want to. I did take the feedback, but it was a lot harder for me to take feedback back then because I felt like they were like criticizing me and telling like, "Oh, you're not doing this right. You're not doing this." So I just felt like I was kind of in my mindset that I was getting put down, I guess you could say. But now that I look back at it, everybody was just trying to help me and they were being really nice about it. And I feel like that once I signed up for that third season and I just kept going, that it kind of showed me that like I am actually good at this. They want me to stay. They want me to keep growing and pursuing this. And I get comments from coaches and older officials all the time saying, "Oh wow, you're so confident and you're really young." And so I just kind of use that to my advantage and try to, even though I may not have the experience of the many years of making tough calls and stuff like that, I try to use, as a very outgoing person, like use my confidence as I may not know that that's the right call, but I'm going to make it because, and they're just going to have to deal with it. So that's kind of my stance on it.
Okay. And have you, at what point did you branch outside of Shakopee? You're kind of sort of your home rink or your comfort zone, and how many different rinks associations are you working with now?
Well, I ref for our district, so I do all of the games. So we have I think it's 9 or 10, 11 teams in the district. So I ref really everywhere in the kind of area that I live in. So it's all the rinks anywhere between 20 minutes to 45 minutes around my home area to travel. So traveling from rink to rink is not so bad.
Yep.
But just kind of, yeah, it's just the travel that was kind of tough as the young official. But now that I can transport myself, it's a lot easier and I can manage my time a lot better.
Okay, great. And we got a follow-up question for you here, Jere, from the audience. And I guess one of our members is asking, how would you make the feedback to the newer, younger officials less threatening? I mean, what was it? How would you, do you have any recommendations for those veterans out there that are trying to help to make them a little bit better in terms of how they can coach the younger official?
Yeah. To say, the way I explained it, for me, I don't think it was the way that they were saying it or like presenting it to me. It was just kind of my mindset at the time. But I feel like if the older officials want to help the younger officials in a way, just kind of, I would start by like saying like, "Oh, you're doing this well, you're doing," like just list off a couple good things or things that they've been doing well, like, "Oh, you had really good confidence on that call, you're doing all your signs correctly," just kind of saying some good things and say like, oh, you did all right, but if you want to do this, and then kind of explain it through them. And the more in depth you can go with like explaining something, I think the more that they'll will kind of take it in. But that's just my opinion on it.
That's an excellent, excellent advice and excellent opinion. Michael, you have any experience on that? Anything that you'd like to offer on that question?
No, that was pretty spot on. I was just typing up a thing to send. I love making a supervision or a mentoring less of a performance review and much more just conversational in the locker room. Like it should be very. I love doing super informal things. Like I'll get out like the notepad and draw up a rink and stuff, but very very informal and more conversational than directing anything. And it's always good to throw in just as many positives, if not more, than negatives. Because you could get beat down by negatives all day long, but at some point you're just going to get overwhelmed, and it won't click. It's an overload.
Yeah, no, excellent, excellent point there as well. And just moving on here real quick, just want to, I think I have one more slide I just want to cover here. So again, wrapping up the presentation part where we can get into some more informal questions. So what's the results? What are we looking for? Obviously, want to improve the completion rates, assisting and helping with our brand new officials and getting them eligible to work games and getting them on the ice to enjoy that experience. Improve some opportunities for new officials with the assigners, especially with a mentor. Sometimes it can be very intimidating for a 13 or 14-year-old brand new official to have to email or call the assigner. If the mentor or the big brother or sister can do that for them, that might help them get out on the ice, and especially if they volunteer to work together. We're trying to improve the environment for that brand new official and create a positive experience for them to have some success and enjoy the experience. Improve culture and reward satisfaction and again, make that overall experience. And the end result of that, if the officials have a better experience, ultimately, we would like to think that we'd improve our retention rate and strengthen our bench, deepen our bench a little bit in terms of experienced officials. So with that being said, just want to continue on here with a couple more questions and a few more things just to get some information out. Michael, you came back your second stint. We've talked about the fact that you were a little bit more prepared and the maturity and those types of things. But you also got fast-tracked relatively quickly through our development programs into the junior program. You know, when you first got fast-tracked, I would imagine it was a little bit different type of mentoring that you received with some of the more experienced officials in the JODP and the junior program and pro hockey. You know, how have those mentors and those individuals at the higher levels, how have they contributed to your success? And basically, you know, would you be where you are today without that type of support during that second stint as well?
I mean, I attribute everything to the guys that have helped me over the years. Between the mentors here, which got me into the ODP, and then my mentors that I had in the ODP to get me into pro hockey, they're 100% the reason that I'm where I am today. And we have a lot of good guys back here in Dallas, but the resources that like the ODP has and the minor leagues have is just it's incredible. The supervisions you get are at a whole other level, and it becomes less of basic manual material and more of game management material. So you learn things from supervisors every single day that you can't find in a rule book or in a manual, because it's things that guys have learned from years and years and years of experience, and and it works differently at different levels. And having those guys go to those games is absolutely incredible. And the one guy that I'm thinking, can I name names? Is that a thing to do?
Absolutely. Sure.
One of the supervisors who I've had over and over who have really helped with the supervision standpoint, not necessarily moving up or anything, was Wayne Bonney, because he's been around professional hockey juniors for quite a while. He's extremely thorough. He loves videos. He loves going off script. I probably shouldn't talk about going off script in a USA Hockey Zoom, but it's awesome to get those the things you don't find in the books, the between the line game management that you get from these mentors. It is unparalleled.
So what, is it safe to say, Michael, that the mentoring never stops?
Ever. Yeah. And there's supervisions that I'll have this season where it's things where I go, man, why have I never thought about that? Like, that's the most genius thing ever. That's going to work every single time. Every single game you can learn something new from. And the mentors at the next level will see these things, and they're very good at pointing them out. And it's absolutely incredible to learn.
Great. That's fantastic. And Jere, let's be honest now. You're the crafty old vet, I think, in your family, because your younger brother, Alexi, has started officiating. Is that correct?
Yeah, he should be going on to his second season this year. So just looking to keep him and getting into it. I know he was probably the similar thing that happened to me. He was kind of iffy about it. I mean, I really loved my first year. He was kind of on the edge. He's like, do I want to keep doing this or not? And I was just like, just give it another year or two. And it changes the whole experience. So once you're not nervous going out on the ice, and once you have a little more experience, you're going to like it a lot more. You're not going to see it as threatening, I guess you could say. So.
Yeah. Are there some other younger officials that now that you're expected to support and mentor a little bit, or is it just Alexi and you?
Well, I do know some of the younger officials in our district, in our area. I have refed with some of them, so I mean, I try to give some pointers. I mean, I don't have the most experience. This is only my 4th year, but I try to, mostly positioning wise, kind of the basics, and just kind of not really like talking, or like the points of like talking to the coach and communicating with like between us, but mainly like make sure that when the play's coming towards you, you're kind of moving along with it. You're kind of staying out of the way, and just making sure that your calls are confident when you are making them. So that's mainly the pointers that I give out.
Okay. Does Alexi consider you a mentor, or you're just a big brother? And what are some of the things that you've done to help him along a little bit?
I don't think he really sees me as a mentor. Probably as a little big brother. But I've been to a couple of games where he's refed. I know, I mean, I'm busy and we're all busy as a family, off doing other hockey and school activities and stuff. So when I do but I know my parents have watched his games, because they've watched many of my games when I've refed, especially the first 2 years when they had to drive me to the arenas. So, but just if when I see things that he could be working on, yeah, I'll point out a couple things, but I don't normally say too much, because I just want him to get comfortable first and not seem like I'm trying to fix everything that he's doing wrong. So I just want to get him kind of hooked onto it a little more before I start kind of teaching him more of the stuff.
Look, you know what? That sounds like an excellent strategy. I'm just sitting back and thinking and listening to this, and it's like, I have 2 boys that obviously they officiate. They're 18 and 17. They're 15 months apart, and they go from being best buddies to wanting to kill each other, and the flip of a finger. So I can only imagine how that that experience is with your younger brother, but to be a mentor, to be there as a resource when he needs it, but not necessarily force feed stuff down his throat. Sounds like a really good strategy. And going back to that, one of the last questions on, what advice could you give to the other officials that are helping mentor and those types of things. I think that that's pretty good advice there too. Okay, can everyone still hear me? Okay, Michael, are we still a little fuzzy, or am I having some mic problems?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just me, but you sounded a little fuzzy. Yuri, do you have the same?
Yeah, it's just a little bit.
Okay, is it better now?
No.
Not much. Okay, so then this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to, Michael, if you can hear me, I'm going to ask a question real quick.
Sure.
The question from the audience is, how did you deal with game management situations, especially at your younger age and working at the highest levels right now? And what tools do you use to remain calm and confident working at those high levels?
Well, when I first started, whenever situations would arise, like when I was still really young in the mentor program, I just wouldn't do anything. I would just let whoever I was working with take over because I didn't know what I was doing. And now I think it comes with experience. I'm afraid we might have lost Matt Leaf. I'll keep talking. Now every situation is different, but the more experience you have, I think the calmer you can be. I tend to freak out a lot when I don't know what's happening, and it only takes one situation to learn what you did wrong and what you should do better next time. I think that's the best way to learn how to deal with different situations is to go through them. The same way about learning rules. Like the best way to learn a rule is to royally screw it up in front of a supervisor, and guaranteed you'll know that rule for the rest of your life. I think it's the same way with crazy situations. They're all different, but the more crazy situations that you have, the easier it is to slow things down, take a breath, and work them out from start to finish with everything much more smoothly.
Okay, is that a little bit better?
That's so much better.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I had to bug out there for a little bit. But with that, I'm going to apologize because I lost the last couple of questions in the Q&A. So if those who had a couple of questions there want to go ahead and resubmit them, we'll certainly try to get them at some point. Or if Michael, do you see them?
I think the only Q&As were about your mic.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I think we're fine. I'll look.
Okay, good. We'll keep on going then. Yuri, let's go off the board for a second. What was the best game you feel that you've ever worked in your 4-year career?
Well, I had two things. One is probably the best game that I think I've seen like play wise, and the other one is for me the most memorable game. I'll start off with the most like game that had the best play. It was a tournament that I was reffing. So this was my 4th or 5th game of the day, and I was just like, at that point when you ref so many in a row, you're like, okay, I got one more to go. Let's get it done. Let's get out of here. So I feel like at that point I was kind of I needed this kind of game, like that I need to kind of get up and like have it be an intense game where I had to be sharp focused the whole time and kind of need to keep me engaged the whole time. But it was, I'm pretty sure it was a Squirt B1 tournament. And it was and it was the semifinal game to see who went to the championship. And I was just like, all right, well, early in the tournament, the one team like the #1 seed just absolutely killed the team. Like, so I knew that it probably wasn't going to be a close game, and the game ended up being really close. It was, I think it ended up 2-1, and the team that was just wrecking everybody that tournament ended up getting upset in an overtime. It was so regular play, and then it was 4-on-4 overtime, and then it was the second 3-on-3 overtime that the team ended up scoring. And so it definitely kept me on the edge as an official. You're like, oh, are they going to score here? They're going to score here. So I think that was the most fun game for me to ref that I remember. And then the game that I still remember to this day exactly. We don't really hope for these kind of games, but I remember that it was just a regular game in our district, one of the league games, and one of the coaches of the away, or it was actually the home team, was the whole time just complaining after every little single thing that maybe didn't go their way or could have been controversial. And I was reffing with a official that I think he was a veteran official, but he was really cool. I talked with him in between periods, and he understood what I was, and that was my second year, so that was my first year actually reffing any like competitive games. And he was mainly targeting me because he knew I was younger and a new official. And I told my partner after the second period, I was like, he's still, and my partner, he was yelling from the bench. So I know, so my partner gave him a warning early in the third period, and then he kind of quieted down for a minute of the game, and then it just picked right back up. And I went over and told him, I was like, you keep this up, this is our final warning, and you are going to get tossed out. And didn't stop him. The next 3 minutes when he just kept going, the older official just went in and he just took the reins, and just tossed him out. And I feel like for me, just getting criticized all game, and kind of like I didn't want to speak up to an older, like, I guess you say coach or parent. Like, I didn't feel like I had the authority in that situation. So by my partner, my veteran official, stepping up, I kind of felt like it helped me a lot with my confidence. And that then he just, like, he is the one who got me to muscle up and actually go over there and give him another warning. But he knew that I wasn't going to throw him out of the game, so he just kind of took the reins and did it for and it was just, I feel like that was the game I most remember, because that official I probably wouldn't have, if that kept going on, I probably wouldn't have returned the next season. So, but that's my situation.
No, great stories, great examples of some of the experiences. And I was just thinking as you're telling that, if we were to throw up another poll question of how many people in our audience have experienced that same type of thing, that would probably be this is our 29th Zoomcast. That would be the first poll question that will get 100%. Pretty much guaranteed, because we've all lived through that, and we're very fortunate that you had a partner that was there to work you through that and help you out and get you through that experience. Michael, you're not a rookie anymore, especially within the junior program, and you're extremely well respected. I want to congratulate you on being a recent Ben Allison Award winner, which is voted on by your peers within the junior program. So you're obviously very well respected. Now that you're kind of sort of that senior partner in some cases, and especially in the junior program, but maybe even in the American League and the ECHL, how has that changed your perspective on working those games with partners that don't have that same level of experience?
I don't think it changes anything. Like, it was really cool to be voted on and like getting that award, but I like to think the reason I got that award was because of who I was at these games. And I don't think it changed anything. Like, I still do the exact same things I did before. I'm the same guy in the locker room, the same guy on the ice. If anything, it's changed even less since that's come up. Yeah, it was just having a blast.
Yeah, and do you feel yourself being a little bit more of a mentor now, especially when you're working those games? Are you the guy that's helping the younger guy out?
Yes, yeah. It's just like we brought up in the poll question that came up. It's less of a mentor role and more of a conversation that's steered towards guiding a new official into a helpful path. And I love working with new guys. Like working an all game now and having some guy from up north come down here and we get a hot lap him because it's his first North American League game, like that makes my heart race before games, because I just remember back when I was doing that, and it makes me super happy to work with new guys on games. And I like to think that all the guys who I worked with recently are very good at taking constructive criticism. And a lot of times in the locker rooms, it becomes a debate, which I love. And talking situations out are so much better, in my opinion, than just telling guys what to do. I think it works better.
Yep. And how much satisfaction are you getting out of that process in terms of helping the younger officials? And when you see that guy that you've worked with, you've hot lapped in the North American League, you've helped him, you've worked a few games with him, and then he gets to call up to the USHL. Is that something that you get some satisfaction out of as well?
So it happened last season. My first year full time in the program, I lived in South Dakota, and a referee, Logan Gruel, was his first year in the program. He lived in Minneapolis, and we came up together. We went through the same leagues together. We worked the everything the same 3 years in a row. And I worked his first Coast League game this last year in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so I haven't seen him since we lived up in the Midwest together. And so not only is it nice to like reunite with old friends, but it is so awesome to see guys make it up through the same ladder that you struggled climbing. It's a lot of fun.
Yep. Okay, Jere, what's your favorite level to work? Where are you at right now, and where are you getting the most enjoyment when you step out on the ice with stripes on?
Currently for our district, I'm as USA Hockey, I'm level 2, so I can only do up to, I think it's PWBs. So I can do from that down basically. And I really like doing those high level, those Squirt A and Squirt B, and then also any PV games that I get to do, because I just feel like they're at the point where I don't have to make those iffy calls. Like they can all skate and they can play. So I don't have to, if the player falls, normally it's because of a penalty, or it's more obvious to make calls and make judgments based when players are more developed and they have more skill, and they're not just falling over when they get touched every time. It's a lot easier to make calls. So I feel like that would be my favorite.
Okay, Michael, what about you? What's your favorite level that you're at right now?
My favorite level to work is it has to be the North American Tier 3 Hockey League. It might sound like a weird answer. I'm honored to be working professional hockey, and those games are incredible and everything. But there's something about the Tier 3 Junior League that USA Hockey has that it is an absolute blast to work those games. You never know what you're going to get. If it's going to happen in a hockey game, it's going to happen in that league. And so the things I've seen in that league, the people who I've met in different cities, that is the most fun I've ever had working a hockey league, just in the sense of just wild, outlandish things. And I love that. I love that stuff.
Yeah, I've always said if it's going to happen in hockey, it's going to happen in the NA3.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's not a more true statement.
Yeah, very good. Okay, Jere, kind of sort of wrapping up here a little bit. What are your goals? What are your short-term, long-term goals? What are you looking to accomplish out of officiating yet?
Well, I feel like my short-term goal as of right now would be to move up another level and just keep progressing with my own like training. And I would say my my whole long-term goal would be to keep officiating until I feel like I can't no more, whether either I get up to a level where I feel like that it's, I wouldn't say too hard, but it gets to be more of a uh, kind of burden to ref at that age. But I don't think will happen. I think the only way that I'll be able to be pulled out of reffing would be real outside of hockey life experiences where I get pulled into a different sort of opportunity. I feel like a different job or something like that.
Understood. So you're interested in, pursuing our junior program eventually and working your way up the ranks?
Hopefully, I mean, if I get to that stage, I'd be more than glad to keep continuing on. So
Maybe working working a WC or a Big Ten game at Mariucci Arena with your Minnesota T-shirt on.
yeah, that would be awesome.
That would be it. Okay, good deal. And Michael, what about you? What are your goals? What are you still looking to get out of officiating?
I got a couple more USA hockey camps I want to attend. I keep trying to go to the instructor camp, but typically playoffs for all the leagues are at that time. Internationals always on the bucket list, whether it be one tournament or who knows what. But the main thing that I'm trying to get out of it right now is recruiting and giving back, because this USA Hockey's given everything to me, and I love seeing guys go through the same process that I went through and enjoying it as much as I did. Because again, to see those guys make it up to whatever level and be working with me in those games, it makes me feel real good. So yeah, I think I'm in the giving back phase of my career, and I love it just as much, if not more, than the officiating side on ice.
Well, you certainly you certainly fit in well with what we're trying to accomplish within USA Hockey, and very much appreciate that. And I want both of you to know that you'll both have a place in our programs, regardless of where it is, for as long as you want to continue to be a part, because that type of attitude is exactly what we need. So one final question for both of you. Should be pretty simple. It's yes or no. Okay. Do you feel that you'd be where you are today if you had not gotten the support that you got when you first started from some experienced officials, whether it was a formal mentor or not? Jere, will let you go first. Yes or no?
No, definitely not.
Okay, very good. And Michael?
Not even where I am. I don't even think I'd be reffing if it wasn't for everybody. 100% absolutely the reason.
Okay. Fantastic. And I just want to state for the audience here, and you guys can nod your head or put your thumb up or something. You don't necessarily have to respond. But you were not prompted whatsoever with that answer, correct? We did not at any point discuss, hey, I'm going to ask you this, and I really want you to say that. And the reason I bring that up is again, to emphasize how critical this type of concept or this type of philosophy and programming can be for the success of not only the officiating program, but the game as a whole. Because I think what everyone hopefully has seen tonight is two quality ice hockey officials, but more importantly, they're quality people that love the game. They have a passion for the game, and want to see the game to be successful, and that's what we're striving for. That's what we need to be the best that we can possibly be. And can't say enough positive things about you two guys tonight and what you've contributed to the Zoomcast. I'm going to share my screen here one more time. Got to go through the obligatory advertisement here. BJ tells me that I have to do this at the end of every one. Just letting you know that the upcoming schedule tonight is the 19th with mentoring officials. Next week, we talk about USA Hockey Week across America. And BJ's got a very good group together of panelists there who have experienced the Hockey Week or environment in terms of meeting the NHL officials and those types of things. So that should be very interesting. 31 on February 2nd, Scotty Zelkin will be bringing us back into the nuts and bolts of what we do, and spending some time with his panel working on restraining fouls, and our obligation as officials to promote skill development and let those players that are faster and more skilled be able to play the game without having a stick on them at all the time or being slashed and those types of things. And then February 9th, we're going to bring in, I'll be back as the host, and we'll discuss some of the rule change proposals that have been submitted. They are posted online if you want to take a look at them in advance, and certainly answer any questions in regards to some of the preliminary recommendations by the Plain Rules Committee. Don't forget to follow us on usahockey.com, on Twitter, on Instagram, and also you can go back and view any of the previous 28 Zoomcast on USA Hockey's YouTube channel. So if there was one that you missed, or you want to go back and refresh your memory, the YouTube channel has all of not only the officiating, but also some coaching webinars and information as well. So please be sure to check that out and take a look at that. Want to just a follow-up reminder, BJ will be sending out a survey at some point shortly to gather some feedback. Please don't forget to take a few minutes to fill that up. I want to thank Jere and Michael. Obviously, you know, they give up their time to be with us tonight. I thought extremely well spoken and very much an important part of our program. So we thank you for your participation tonight and giving back to our programs. We wish you the best of luck to be safe and have a strong finish to the season coming up here. I want to thank all the participants for joining us once again. Your continued dedication to the USA Hockey and the officiating program is not gone unnoticed, and it's extremely appreciated. So again, thank you to everyone, panelists, participants. We look forward to having a hopefully a safe finish to the season. I know that some areas are a little bit slower to get opened up, but we are doing the best we can to keep the game going, and we'll continue to do so. So we appreciate your support. Wish you the best for the rest of the season. And thank you for joining us tonight. Have a great dinner and a great rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt, Yuri, everyone.